Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Today I'm going to be sowing some seeds so that I will have lots of beautiful flowers, not only for cutting and adding to fresh flower arrangements, but also for dried flowers like this beautiful arrangement here. There's several flowers that are great for cut flowers as well as dried flowers, and some work as a cut flower in their fresh flower form and then as a dried flower as more their seed pod form. So I won't be growing everything in this bouquet today, but I will be growing some statice. So I have some beautiful statice here that's been dried. It's a gorgeous flower. And I'm going to be growing straw flower. It's another perfect flower for drying. It even seems dry and has a great papery sound when you play with the petals when it's still alive and fresh. I'm going to be sowing just a little bit more nigella or love in a mist. I have a few Delft blue nigella seeds that I'd like to grow, and they provide these great seed pods like you see here once the flower has gone to seed, and these seed pods are just beautiful for cut flowers. I'm also going to be growing a little bit more amobium. Amobium is a really long stemmed flower, a very small tiny little white flower with a yellow center. It's just a beautiful little filler flower, and because of its long flexible stems, it can add some nice movement in a fresh arrangement as well. The only thing with amobium is I find it can be a bit fussy to strip the way the stems grow, the leaves grow along the stems. You kind of have to peel it off, and it can get a little tedious, but the bunches have several flowers on each stem, so you don't need a lot to give a nice movement in a bouquet. They dry nicely as well. I don't have any in here, but they make a great dried flower. I'm also going to be trying some Ptolodus joey. This is something I saw Laura grow on Garden Answer last year, and I don't know for sure that it's going to be a great dried flower, but I really think when looking at it on her channel and some of the research I've done that it should be a really nice dried flower to have in my garden. So I'm going to give it a try as well, and we'll see how that does together. Some of the other flowers that you might want to grow for dried flower are things like Gomphrena, which you can see some here. These little pink balls in here. Crocosmia, I have some Crocosmia seed heads in here. The little seed pods, seed heads are great for dried flowers. Yarrow is another great dried flower. Echinacea, which is right here, that's the seed pod. So it makes a great cut flower, and then the seed pods make a great dried flower. And there's also things like amaranth, which is good for drying. And some of my favorite things for drying and having in arrangements are like the seed heads off of grasses and millets. They also dry really nicely and will give you some nice texture. And the millets can even give you a little bit more color, which can be difficult to find in some dried flowers. Those are some suggestions of things you might want to look out for and get started for dried flowers if that's something that interests you. Today I'm going to be growing the 5 varieties that I talked about, and I'll be starting them and sowing them here in this seed tray here. So get these out of the way so they don't get dirty and wet. I'm planting all of my seeds today in these little 9-pack silicone trays. I really like the amount. I think that's a nice usable amount of flowers for just a home gardener to have in most situations. They work really well. They're very durable trays. They say you can put them in the dishwasher. I never have. I just rinse my seed trays out unless I've had disease or bugs or something that I'm concerned about. Then I'll just give them a little light bleach solution. But they held up well. Some of them were out in my greenhouse for a month or two last summer, and they didn't fade or, get weaker. And they're nice because you can kind of push on them, manipulate them to get those root systems out when it's time to get the seedlings out of the trays. So I'll put a link below if you're interested in these. I just got them off of Amazon last year, but I've been really happy with how they've performed for me, at least after the one season. So I'm going to start with sowing the Love in a Mist or Nigella, and this is Delft Blue. I think I have just enough seeds to fill up the one tray here. And now I'm at 8 weeks before my average last frost, so these are supposed to be sown 8 to 10 weeks, but they also say you can do succession sowing, so I should be fine with that. I just found these in my order more collection here. When I get low or empty packets, I put them in a box so I can order more. And I didn't find more of this variety, but I do have a few seeds left, so I better use them. So Nigella, these tiny little seeds here. Let's try and get them all out of my package. That's it. So they're very tiny little black seeds. I don't know how well they show up on camera there. And they just want to be covered very, very lightly. I'm just going to try and get one in each cell because I don't have very many under my nails here. I'm just using a mix of like a grower's mixed peat moss, so it's been adjusted for pH, has nice sized bits of peat moss, not a lot of like sticks and things in it. And it's just mixed about 3 parts of the peat moss and 1 part of vermiculite and 1 part perlite, and that's what I use to sow my seeds in. So I've just set those in there on top, and I'm just going to cover them lightly because they need light to germinate. I'm just going to put a sprinkling of vermiculite on top, and I find that works well with the Nigella instead of trying to get a very small layer of soil on top or seed starting mix. So the next thing I have 2 types of straw flower. The first one is called Silvery Rose, and a lot of these seeds that I'm going to be sowing today are from Stems Flower Farm. If you're interested, they're a Canadian company. So these don't want light to germinate, so they're just going to go right on top of the soil. Make sure I have the right tag for the seeds I'm putting in. And there's the seeds for those. Because I'm not short on seed, I'll try and put 2 in each cell, and that way I should be guaranteed to have at least 1 come up. And then I can just cut one off at the soil height if I have 2 germinate. Lots of seeds left there to use another day. And then I have from Heritage Harvest Seeds, this is just kind of a general mix of straw flower seeds. So they look almost identical, maybe slightly lighter, some of them in color. And the same thing, so I'll just try and get 2 in each cell. And then they need light to germinate, so they don't need to be covered. You can still put a fine layer of vermiculite on just to help retain moisture levels. But you definitely don't want to put any soil on top of these straw flower seeds. So, a little sprinkling on here. This is so light, it shouldn't even cover up the flowers. Just helps to kind of regulate the moisture. So Winged Everlasting. Everlasting gives you a good clue that this is a good dried flower. And there's the seeds. So again, I'm going to try and get 2 in each cell. So this package was also from Stems. And again, this says cover seed lightly. So that's what I will do. And again, I'm just going to cover it lightly with the vermiculite. You could go in again with a very fine layer of like the peat moss or seed starting mix that you have. But when they want some light to germinate, I find that this works the best. Then we have the Patulatus Joey. I really don't know how to say that. And this is supposed to be grown 6 to 10 weeks in advance of the intended garden date. I'm at just about 7 weeks now before my average last frost. And it says cover seed lightly with soil, germinates best at 25 Celsius in 5 to 7 days. Allow to dry out between waterings. And it seems like it wants a little bit warmer than your average kind of house temperatures. It says 76 to 80 Celsius. Oh, there's not a lot of seeds in here. Did it tell me? Oh, it says 10 seeds on the package. So, not to waste any. There's those seeds. Very tiny. So one per space here. These seeds would be, all of these seeds actually would be good candidates for using a skewer or a toothpick that's just been dipped in some water, and then you touch it to the seed, and that'll pick up the seed and distribute it where you want it a little more easily. It looks like I actually had 12 seeds. So I'll double a couple of these up. These were from TNT seeds, if I didn't say that. Now it does say cover lightly with soil, which was very specific. Usually they just say cover lightly. So I'm going to get just a little bit of my seed starting mix. So I've just gotten a little bit of the seed starting mix in my hand, and I'm just going to go and just, where I see the seeds on the soil, just put a small amount on them. I think I got all the seeds covered with soil. I'll still go over it with a bit of vermiculite. The last thing is Apricot Beauty Status. So I'd wanted to get some other status, just general status, but I don't know what happened because this is all I have in my seed stash now. So I don't know if I shopped for my seeds pretty early on, so maybe no one had them and I was thinking I'd go back, but this is what I have now. And I kind of went through the dried flowers of status that I had. I don't know if you can see over here, there's kind of a little pile of old flower petals and things, but I couldn't find anything that looked like a usable seed in there. These are really nice dark seeds. Everything that looked like a seed was just really light in that pile, so I don't think they're viable seeds. Just putting one or two in each of these spots here. I have 18 cells there, so if they don't all quite come up, I should be okay. And a couple of 2, so I'm probably going to have a few cells with doubles I could divide out. And what did that say? These are from stems. It says you should see seedlings in 5 to 14 days. And it doesn't actually tell me if they need to be covered or not. Stems does not have the best growing information on their packages. So let me just look if I can find out what I'm supposed to do with these seeds. I should have done that before I started this, and then we'll come back. Okay, good old Johnny seeds. They are always coming to the rescue. They say the status needs light to germinate and that you should just cover it enough just to hold the seeds in place. So again, I'm just gonna go in with the vermiculite. Give it a thin little layer there, just enough to hold the seeds in place. And then I will water all of these in really well just with my spray mister. And I will put a humidity dome on top, which is just a clear, just a clear cover. And if you don't have a humidity dome, use like plastic wrap or something. It just goes over top the tray. I'll put them, because they need light to germinate, on my seed racks here with under some lights so they can get lots of good lighting, and wait for the seeds to germinate. Once the seeds have germinated and I have about 80% germination, I'm going to make sure to remove the humidity dome, because you don't want to keep too much humidity. That's how you wind up with not enough air circulation and fungal diseases in there. Now the status, Johnny Seeds also said that once it germinates, it'll get best root development if you put it somewhere cooler. So I'll try and keep that in the back of my head to put it down. It says around 16 Celsius. So that's what I'll be trying to accomplish as long as I remember. I have to go through. I have a few things that need that. But anyway, so for right now, I'm just going to get them watered in and the humidity dome and under the lights. And then I'll just be checking them every few days to see if there's any germination and how things are going. Make sure they're staying moist on the soil surface. You don't need them moist all the way to the bottom of the seed tray and while they're germinating, but you definitely need the top moist, because that'll let the seeds know that it's time to wake up and start growing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.